I'm starting off October with a fairly strange game. If you've played Lollipop Chainsaw, you'll already know what I mean. Chainsaw-wielding cheerleader? Check. Disembodied boyfriend's head? Check. Lots of sexual innuendos? Check. Zombies? That's definitely a check. Strange family? Check. Awesome yet, again, strange music? Yeah, that gets a check too. You play as Juliet Starling, a cheerleader at San Romero High. Her boyfriend is Nick, a star player on the football team. Stereotypical, I know. What makes the game stand out is that Juliet's family are a bunch of zombie slayers, each preferring a special tool to take care of the threat. On Juliet's 18th birthday, a massive swarm of zombies attack, and she is too late to save Nick, so in order to prevent him from completely dying, she uses magic to spare his head, attaching it to her body. After the first stage, you'll learn that one of the goth outcasts of the school, named Swan, has chanted a special ritual spell to bring multiple Lords of Darkness, known as the Dark Purveyors, into the world. Each of these bastards employs a different musical genre, helping to lead further into the musical diversiveness with the game. Juliet must stop these Dark Purveyors and Swan to bring peace into the world. You can probably guess that Juliet's preferred weapon is a chainsaw. Yeah, she employs a special, colorful chainsaw that slices and dices. She does get other weapons that function as attachments, such as the blaster, which allows you to shoot the chainsaw like a gun, although ammo is fairly limited. There's also a chainsaw dash, which allows her to run ahead in a fairly straight line and mow down anything in her path. There are also many other mechanics to destroying zombies, which I'll get to shortly. The core game is simply an action game, where you go throughout the linear levels to kill all zombies and save any classmates that may still be alive, but struggling. Saving these classmates yields bonus medals, used as currency in the game. Other than that, you just survive. X jumps, circle rolls and evades, square does a quick pom-pom strike, and triangle is your stronger chainsaw attack. Square attacks are much faster and don't do as much damage, but enough of these strikes can stun your opponent. As is the norm for action games, you can chain these buttons together to perform various combos. Square Square Triangle is one of the best ones to unlock, since it's 2 quick slices and then a massive overhead chainsaw strike. X and Triangle is great when you have a group of zombies, since Juliet rolls forward. You'll find other moves that can be utilized in your own personal way. So here's the thing though, most of the combos must be unlocked in the shop. These are unlocked by using the various medals you earn, both from combos and from prizes from doing well in the minigames. There are 2 colors, bronze and platinum. The platinum medals are saved for the soundtracks, costumes, and art. The bronze unlock this important stuff, skill upgrades and moves. If you want to unlock a move, do keep in mind that you can't preview the combo. The game tells you what it is, but no video or anything to show it off, so it's sometimes questionable whether it's worth purchasing before another combo or not. There were a few times I bought a moveset, but found that it just wasn't worth the money and wished I would have got something else. You also can't access the shop in the stage select menu, so if you want to buy something, you have to pick a stage and make your way to a Chop to Shop kiosk, which are normally at least a few minutes into the stage. As you take damage, you'll be able to use lollipops to regain your health. The difficulty level will determine how many you can carry at one time. The catch is that you can pick up unneeded lollipops without a second thought. Most games just said, nope, you're holding too many, so this one stays here, but not Lollipop Chainsaw. So your best course of action, if you already cleared the enemy threat in the area, is just to use a lollipop before collecting one if you're already maxed out, since you'll be losing one in one shape or form anyway. There are also roulette tickets that can be collected. I truthfully have never used them, but they are for the Nick Roulette, as Juliet uses Nick's head as a sort of power-up, based on a random outcome. Again, I can't show you or tell you more since I never used this feature, but it is available for you. One of the biggest selling points of the game is the presentation. Although Lollipop Chainsaw is clearly a zombie game, it is extremely bright and colorful, with humor spread throughout, almost like it's a horror comedy. Juliet and Nick are constantly trading quips, with many of them bringing context into the relationship, and even more, shall we say, suggestive. I mean hell, Juliet's mentor, the Sensei Morikawa, remarks on watching Juliet train in her underwear, and he ends up getting a faceful of her chest a few times. No matter how explicit things get though, there's never any nudity, Which, although I'm not the kind of person to mind, there are probably someone out there who is now turned off from trying the game. You sick bastard. The music tends to lend itself to the quirky atmosphere. Although most of it is simply background tracks, there are some licensed tracks. Juliet can activate Star Power, which allows her to kill enemies in one quick swipe of her chainsaw. While in this Star Power, the classic 80s song Mickey from Tony Basil plays. But that's not all. Expect a bunch of punk and metal bands such as the Toy Dolls, Five Finger Death Punch, Children of Bodom, and Dragon Force. Hell, the main menu music is Cherry Bomb from Joan Jett. And of course, when you're in the shop, you hear Lollipop. Because of course we do. Overall though, I approve of the music. Of course, since this is an action game on PS3, there has to be quick time events. And they are numerous. You might groan at first like I did, but for the most part, they aren't too bad. Some bosses get a bit overboard, since it's the first dark purveyor of punk rock, Zed, but after this they are usually kept to minor side stuff. Although there is a minigame in which you must put Nick's head onto a headless corpse and do cheers to get him to do things, such as break an obstacle in your way. This is actually kind of annoying and sadly mandatory, but they only happen maybe a half dozen times. There's also other things like trampolines where you must time your presence to jumping on zombie heads, and if you can do it perfectly, you get a massive metal boost. Let's go back to the graphics for a bit. I already mentioned that everything is unusually bright for a zombie game, but there's also a few downsides to the visuals. For one, most zombies look way too generic. You have your typical student and teacher Walking Dead, a fat farmer that alleges to do some questionable things with his livestock, and a few other zombies tropes, but that's about it. Other than the bosses, there's not really any enemy that stands out other than maybe the giant mecha chicken Cerberus thing. That's unique-ish. Due to this genericness though, the zombies just look too standard. A bit more variety would have been a pleasant idea. There's also a strange filter that seems to be applied to the textures at times, almost like a phasing out thing. I'm thinking it's to help lead to an almost comic book-like design, but it's a bit strange to see in action. Most games keep corpses laying around or have a smoother despawn animation, but here, it's almost kind of jarring to view. Also, for a zombie killing game, there really isn't a lot of gore to be seen. But again, that's just the visual design of the game, and there's nothing to be detrimental about the lack of blood. So far I've been doing nothing but giving the game relative praise, but there are a few points to the game that make it far from perfect. For one, the game heavily promotes replayability. When clearing levels, you unlock a score attack mode for that stage, in which there are no checkpoints because if you die, the game is over, and your whole goal is to amass a high score. I am no longer a high score junkie as I was back in the Atari or NES days, but since there are trophies involved with these high score runs, I'm going to have to attempt to complete the game without dying at some point. But the other reason to replay levels is because that's the only way you can really get any medals to purchase the items in the shop. Regular zombie medals are fairly easy to obtain, but if you want those platinum coins, you'll need to kill multiple enemies in one swipe, known as a Sparkle Hunt, in which the higher multi-kills will net you tons of medals. This leads to a massive requirement to grind medals out, which by playing the game you'll learn which areas are the best, and you may end up playing the same stage multiple times because you'll know you'll get a medal windfall playing it. And why do you need all these medals? As I said before, there is a shop, and the platinum medals are primarily used to unlock close to 20 costumes for Juliet. Many of them are standard teenager gear, some are questionably provocative, and others are based on various famous animes of the time. I'm not an anime fan, but a friend of mine had me watch High School of the Dead, so I recognize some of the costumes available. It's a neat little feature to have these crossovers there, as it's a no-brainer that this game almost feels like it could have originally been based off an anime series. If you're a completionist, there's also lots of lollipops, powerful zombie bios, and other things to collect. Some of these are unfortunately only viewable in harder difficulties, such as different lollipops showing up in different areas in the other challenge levels. They don't really unlock anything other than the usual biographies and a few trophies, but if you're like me, you're going to want to collect everything anyway. The other complaint I have with the game, which is my main problem with it, is that it's just too damn short. There are only 7 total stages, which includes the prologue. Each stage takes anywhere from about 30 to 80 minutes to complete, depending on your competency and skill set. So let's say an hour per stage, which is realistic on your first run, so then you're looking at about 7 hours on a first playthrough. Personally, I think I was able to complete it for this review in about 5 hours. I feel like there should have been a bit more content to allow for easier medal collection. I don't know, with so many minigame type objectives in the regular campaign, maybe that defend the cake, basketball, or baseball challenge could have been something you could unlock to earn more currency. Or how about a survival mode? Oh well. Is that all I have for Lollipop Chainsaw? I think so. It's a fun game that includes a charismatic main character set, humorous side characters, a story that definitely doesn't take itself seriously, and a basic but still enjoyable combat mechanic. It won't be as expansive as something like, say, God of War or even other zombie-like games, but when the game is running, it doesn't disappoint. Of course, it definitely won't appeal to everyone, as some players might be turned away from the ditzy nature of Juliet, but if you don't mind that, Lollipop Chainsaw is still a worthy game to add to your collection. Final score? 8 out of 10. This is Reaper. Happy fragging.